Big Balls Fantasy Football, the only show by real fantasy football fans for real fantasy football fans. I am your host, 20-year fantasy veteran, Greg Reifsteck.
And I'm your co-host, a 10-year fantasy veteran, and also a fan of the Chicago Bears. Yes, we beat the Packers. Jenilee Borek is my name. And together we are the beauty
and the beast
of fantasy football experts.
So, what we want to show you right now is what victory looks like. So, Jenilee, wasn't that fun?
That was amazing. And, I couldn't participate in that part of the celebration because I was, filming and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I participated in all the touchdown celebrations and everything like that. It was just an incredible night to be at a Bears bar.
And it was a surprising amount to celebrate about. Of course, 7 minutes into the game, we had the key injury of the game that made us even Steven. And I was talking to some Packer fans today, and they were still trying to pull the asterisk card. And I said, look, we had our backup in. And they pulled the whole, well, he had a week to practice. Well, you know what? Your backup should be ready. He shouldn't be ready to hold the clipboard. And Seneca Wallace just wasn't ready to play.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it was funny because I posted a picture on Facebook, of us celebrating. And I actually put under it, okay, Packer fans, I'm waiting for the excuses on this one. Because it was very even with the players that were injured from both teams. I mean, they have some defensive players out. We have some defensive players out.
Yeah.
They have some receivers out. We have Martellus Bennett's been playing with a knee injury and a little banged up. So it seemed like the injuries were pretty even across the board. And luckily, I didn't have any Packer fans respond. So I guess I have some friends that are being good sports.
Yeah, I was surprised. Prost was awfully quiet about the loss. He claims he's going to talk a lot on the podcast at blogtalkradio.com/GRR, which will be posting up about the same time we're posting this up on Wednesday. Let's get into the actual game. Bears won 27-20. We had McCown, who I said I thought would do well because of our line.
Yeah.
And thank goodness Aaron Rodgers wasn't a factor and Seneca Wallace came in. McCown, 22 for 41, 272 yards, 2 touchdowns. A great fantasy showing if you had the super-duper big balls to pick them up.
The upgrade to our line has really just made the biggest difference, I think, personally, in our offense. It's just allowing the players that we have to use their talent. And, he was amazing. I mean, he impressed me, and he took care of the ball.
Yep.
No interceptions, no fumbles. I think if you have a backup quarterback situation, that is so important that they don't turn the ball over. So, and then we also had Forte, of course, he balled out. He had 125 rushing yards, 170 all-purpose yards,
Oh, yeah.
a touchdown there. Marshall had 107 receiving yards, so he went over 100, which I haven't. That was nice to see, and a touchdown. So we were spreading the ball out, which is great.
And I had Forte in 2 of my leagues, so I got points too. And as I was saying, please, Jenilee, please, let me get some Jeffrey points. Let me get some Jeffrey points.
I said absolutely he
and
can
I
score.
did. 60 yards and a touchdown for Jeffrey. There were fantasy points on the other side of the ball too. Unfortunately, our run defense and our line up front still really sucks.
Terrible. And that's the linebackers. That's
Yep.
having those 2 young linebackers in. There was, once Eddie Lacy was past our defensive line, it was a free-for-all.
150-yard free-for-all and a touchdown. Really sad. Really sad. Starks, that damn run by Starks goes for 40 yards and he runs up the gut and gets a touchdown. So that was the fantasy status of last night's game. And then, as you saw there was the partying. Us Bears fans, we haven't had a victory in Lambeau since 1997. This is to the Bears, damn it. Awesome.
It's been a long time. I know we won in 2007, but that was at Soldier Field. So very long time to be losing up there. I heard that it was silent. I was listening to some Chicago radio today, and I heard that it was absolutely silent leaving that stadium.
I bet.
I mean, the fans were just, they had no idea what had just happened.
Well, they have no idea to act. I mean, Lovie Smith, what was the first thing he said when he became coach? I'm going to make sure, we beat the Packers every single time. You didn't do it, Lovie. It took Mark Trestman, the quarterback whisperer, the man that comes down from Canada. Great game plan, great play calling, a little bit of weirdness. We're still, he still lets Forte run up the middle a lot.
Still figuring it out.
Yeah, but he got the victory.
Yep. And actually, I was telling you a funny story earlier that I heard. Apparently, some Green Bay fans thought that the Bears didn't stand even an ounce of a chance. There was a woman that bet her husband, she's a Green Bay Packer fan, her husband is a Bears fan, and she bet him that the Bears would obviously lose. Well, the bet was that he could use his stun gun on her if the Bears won. So lo and behold, he did. The police were called out. They looked at the texts and everything on her phone and said, well, you did agree to this. You consented, basically, but he still got arrested, is facing maybe 6 years in jail, like a $10,000 fine. So it's an insane bet, but it's just, I thought it was hilarious that apparently she thought the Bears had zero chance, and then when her husband follows through on the bet, which is weird, she got upset, apparently. So
boredom breeds stupidity, as I say on my comedy show, and Prost, you got off easy. That's the bet we could have made with him, right?
Absolutely.
And you could have gotten to use a stun gun on Prost. Wouldn't that have been fun?
And we would have videoed it and showed all of you out there.
And we would have all gotten arrested. It would have been great accessory. We wouldn't be broadcasting next week.
Yeah,
We'd
he
be
just
in
has
handcuffs.
to. He just has to do the Facebook picture.
Yes.
So
He definitely has to do the Facebook picture. So that was a great surprise win yesterday. I know you were going in cynical. I know a lot of fans were going
I did
in
not
cynical.
want to get excited. Even when we started doing okay, I did not want to get excited. I was like, oh man, watch us blow this. So
it was tense.
It was finally I got to exhale.
Yeah.
And we won and celebrate. So.
Cool. Speaking of surprises, this week we're still dealing with some bye weeks. Some people aren't going to get to play Tom Brady this week after his stellar fantasy showing last week, a ton of touchdowns, a ton of yards against the Steelers. But there were other surprises. A lot of them were stuck on the waiver wire, which was really shocking. A lot of people were like, who has this player? oh God, they're on my waiver wire. So now, all of a sudden, it's going to be either one of two things. They're either going to be a hot commodity and actually be good, or they're going to be one of Prost's one-hit blunders. So.
Right. Well, I know there were people that were scoring that I was like, who is this player?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've never even heard their name.
Yeah.
Usually I know numbers of most all
Right.
players, and I'm like, okay, who is this person
Mm-hmm.
scoring sometimes 2 and 3 touchdowns?
Yeah.
Which was insane.
Yep.
So
Why don't you lay
I'm going
a
to
few
lay
of them
one.
on us?
Okay, I'm going to lay 2.
Mm-hmm.
So the one the Redskins had in Washington was Daryl Young. He's their fullback, and he scored 3 touchdowns. Who out there had him? Did any of you have him?
They all had Roy Helu. That's who they had.
Helu or Morris, right? You would
Yeah.
think Morris will get one.
Mhm.
He got one, but you're
Yeah.
going to think he's going to get the ball.
Right.
Or you think RG3 is going to run it in himself, and he
Mhm.
doesn't. So no, this guy, this random guy out there on all the waiver wires did.
Mhm.
And then the second one that I definitely noticed as well was Tim Wright of Tampa Bay. And he's considered a tight end and a wide receiver, so he kind of has 2 titles. He's done a little bit better in like 2 weeks, but he hasn't done anything earlier in the season. So like week 8, he went 5 for 48 and a touchdown. And then last week, he went 4 for 58 and a touchdown. So he's gotten touchdowns 2 weeks in a row. And he's another one that I'm sure because Mike Williams is out,
Right.
either, using him more. But I mean, Tim Wright, do any of you guys have him? Probably not.
No. And you're probably not going to pick him up unless you're like reading one of those insane sites. Or who knows? Maybe. He'll be
I'm
a gamble of the
desperate
week.
in one of my leagues.
And you're
so
going to pick him up?
I don't know. He might be a gamble. I got to see who else is out there.
He might be a cash
I'm
gamble
missing
of the
a
week.
lot of receivers, and I have some injuries, so I'm in a little trouble.
We'll see. We'll see. Definitely. I have a few. Of course, the big one was Nick Foles. For crying out loud, 7 touchdowns, ties the record for the NFL record. Playing against the Raiders now. I of course went Terrell Pryor. You got points with Terrell Pryor, but everybody thought the Eagles' defense sucks. Raiders have Terrell Pryor. They're gonna go crazy on him. It was the exact opposite. The more and more I was just watching the bottom line, and then finally had to look up at the bar and watch the game. It was crazy. Just the Eagles just piling on every second. And this week Nick Foles is going to be playing the Packers, who now have Seneca Wallace playing, and their defense is depleted. Maybe you'll pick him up because he was on every waiver wire of all 5 leagues, including ours.
Yeah, I was going to say, not many people had him. Actually, one of my dear friends, Trey Murphy, dropped him, had him, dropped him just this week.
Mhm.
And
For who? Your
for
favorite.
Wacko Flacco.
Your
He picked up
favorite.
Flacco, people Foles, and he even admitted, he said, I think that is the worst fantasy mistake I've ever made.
Mhm.
But, I mean, no one thought Foles 7 touchdowns.
Not
And he's not going to do that against Green Bay. So don't expect 7 touchdowns.
No, he's not going to get
Maybe
7 again.
2 or 3.
And the other surprise was the recipient of 3 of them, Riley Cooper. Crying out loud. Really? I mean, 5 for 139 yardage-wise. I played him the week before. I picked him up as a gamble, played him last week. He didn't do crap for me. Threw him back down on the waiver wire.
I think Foles likes throwing to him, though, more than Vic did.
Mm-hmm.
Which they ran the ball more anyways when Vic was at quarterback than when Foles was at quarterback. But I think for whatever reason, Foles has a little bit more chemistry with him. And that always happens. When you get new quarterbacks in, they have chemistry with different receivers and or tight ends, than other people. And that might be what's happening in Tampa Bay as well.
That happens in practice because they get less snaps. They start leading the team in practice. They maybe get 10 snaps. Let's see what you're going to do with it. And they don't throw to the stars all the time. That's how you develop people like Alshon Jeffrey. That's how you develop, Earl Bennett. That's how you develop those people. So, yeah, those were the two big, huge surprises of mine. So, are you ready with your real men this week?
Yes, absolutely. I have some bye week people for you guys because I looked and I'm in some trouble for bye weeks and there's some big people out. So
I'm doing that the same for my beasts too. It's a great philosophy where 2 more weeks we'll be done with the byes.
I know, I can't wait.
But there's only about 4 more weeks left before the playoffs, so hang in there. All right, here's Jenilee.
Let's do it.
I need a real man. Have you seen him?
Hey. So we are in week 10, Real Men. Like I said earlier, I have some bye week help, hopefully, for everyone. Now my first real man is quarterback Jake Locker. Yes, I said Jake Locker. You probably think I've lost my mind, but hear me out on this one. First of all, Tom Brady's on a bye, so if you have him, you can't play him. Alex Smith is on a bye, not that he's been lighting it up, but still he's on a bye. And Aaron Rodgers is down, so some people might be hurting at quarterback out there. Now the Titans play Jacksonville this week at home. Locker plays much better at home than on the road. He actually had over 300 yards against San Francisco at home, so that is a great thing. Another thing is Jacksonville is last, dead last, not shocking, against the run. Now, we saw how CJ got going last week against the Rams, and if they can get CJ going a little bit, then that's going to open up the passing game a lot for Locker as well. And I know Locker only has 8 passing touchdowns, but he has 2 rushing touchdowns. And again, you have to remember that his numbers are down a little bit because he was injured for a few games. He didn't even play. So there you go. He's at least running the ball in, even if he's not throwing it in. And last but not least is Jacksonville does not have Blackman. You know, they are just losing weapons on offense. They're not good to begin with, so I really don't know how long they're going to be able to stay on the field. This might be a game that Tennessee can light it up, and if that's the case, then Locker is going to get you all some great fantasy points. So go ahead and chance it, put him in, but I think he's going to be pretty solid this week because of his matchup. Now my second real men, as I like to say, is Arizona's defense. Yes, I'm taking Arizona's defense, but that's because Cleveland, their defense has been playing very good. They're on a bye. Kansas City, I have their defense. They're amazing. They're on a bye. The Jets' defense has been blowing it out. Look what they did against the Saints, and they're on a bye. So there we go again. Bye week problems with defenses. Why I like Arizona's defense this week is because of the matchup. They're playing the Texans at home, and Arizona's defense is actually 4th against the run. Now, Foster's probably going to be out. He's got that back injury. Ben Tate is playing with 4 broken ribs. I don't know what he's really going to be able to do with that. So I think that they're going to be able to stop the run and make the Texans a one-dimensional team and have to pass the ball, and they have an inexperienced quarterback to do that. So that will help Arizona's defense out. And they already have 23 sacks, 12 interceptions, 7 fumble recoveries, and 1 touchdown. So they are getting you some fantasy points that way. And they're 13th in the league overall. So, you know, they're not in the top 5, but they're still getting the job done. And the Texans do not have Kubiak this week. He's been released from the hospital, but he's not going to be back coaching this week. So now the Texans, they've been losing games, but now they're dealing with a head coaching change, at least for this week, in an away game situation. I just think it's going to be a tough game for them, and I think Arizona's defense is going to come up big for everyone there. And my third real man for this week is running back Mike James. I am liking this kid as I see him get going. Seems like the more he plays, the more he starts, he's really gotten going. They are playing Miami this week, and Miami gives up 28.75 fantasy points on average to running backs. Look how Giovanni went off. He lost his mind, and that was in Miami. So I think James has a good shot to do some stuff this week. James also got on rhythm quite a bit playing in Seattle, with 158 rushing yards and a passing touchdown. Yes, he threw the ball for a touchdown. If you didn't see that play, go on SportsCenter. It was pretty awesome. But against Seattle, that's pretty good. Now, they don't have the best run defense, but Miami doesn't have the best run defense either. And Tampa Bay's playing at home. They're looking for their first win. I think this is a game they might be able to get a win finally in. So these Tampa Bay fans should be a little bit happy about that if it's able to happen. And the thing about Miami is obviously they are having all this controversy, all these problems. They now have 2 starting offensive linemen missing. They've been giving up the most sacks in the league as is. So I don't know what their offense is going to do, but it does not look like a good situation. And don't sleep on Tampa Bay's defense because Tampa Bay's defense has been playing pretty well. So again, this matchup is going to be tough for Miami's offense, I think, to stay on the field. So Mike James hopefully will be on the field a lot. And Tampa Bay might be running down the clock if they are able to get ahead early in the game. So those are my real men for this week. I hope they get everyone a lot of fantasy points. And I know I'm starting Mike James, so I hope he gets me some fantasy points. And Greg has his Beast Mode picks, and they are some good ones this week.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Big Balls Fantasy Football. It's Greg the Beast, Greg Reifsteck, with 3 Beasts of the Week. This week my beasts are so hardcore, they're going to make your porn stash look like Skinamax. My first pick, we all know him as Big Ben, of course, Ben Roethlisberger of the Steelers. He finally had a balls out week this week for a lot of people, and he's going to be perfect to pick up for bye week coverage, just like Jenilee was just giving you. 4 touchdowns, 400 yards. I mean, that was just great. Only 2 picks. Shaves a little bit off, not by much. Not when you get those, when you're in a league that gives you bonus points for every 100 yards, for crying out loud. That was against the Patriots in Week 9. This week, he's playing the Bills. The Bills have a horrible defense. They have given up 20 touchdowns. Holy crap. For the season, I think Ben's just going to have another stellar week. Team just getting healthier. Le'Veon Bell has been doing great. He's been really solidifying that running game. They've been using him a lot on 3rd down. They've been giving the team a lot more confidence. They're still a pretty bad team, but it was pretty shocking that the Patriots defense let him put up so many points. So the Bills, I think, are going to let him probably not put up that many, but he's going to get you some really good fantasy points this week. My second beast is Bad Zach Stacy. He has come on for the Rams. He's been doing awesome. About 4 weeks ago, everybody go, who the hell's Zach Stacy? You know, we knew who Daryl Richardson was, but Zach Stacy really knows how to pound through the line. When he gets in space, this kid can take off. 127 yards, 2 touchdowns versus the Titans last week. They're playing the Colts this week. We know the Colts' run defense hasn't been very stellar either. I think Zach's going to put up a lot for you. Week 8 against the Seahawks went for 134 yards on 26 attempts. So the last 2 weeks, he's at least gotten 25 reps. You're in PPR. They've been actually throwing a little bit to him as well. You're going to get points out of Zach Stacy of the Rams. My third beast this week is a guy that's been on my bench, off my bench, on my bench, off my bench. Put him on last week. Had to put him on because of bye week trouble. Connected with Big Ben on at least 6 passes for a ton of yards. It was awesome. Emmanuel Sanders, wide receiver of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He has been streaking as of late. 98 yards last week off of those 6 passes. Almost broke 100 yards. I think this week he will break 100. Week 8 against the Raiders, he went 7 for 88. The Bills, again, I already mentioned Big Ben with the Bills. I think Emmanuel Sanders is going to go over 100 yards. I think he's going to do well for you this week. Those are my 3 beasts of the week. So, what we have coming up next is a new segment that AJ, aka Lady Justice, is going to lay on you. She is going to give you some really weird conspiracies that she has found in the NFL, and we want you to see if you believe these conspiracies or not. You decide. They're coming up right now.
Hi, I'm AJ Lawrence, and this is your Conspiracy Corner. I'm going to deliver to you 3 NFL conspiracies, and you let me know what you think. First on deck, Adrian Peterson. He tore his MCL and his ACL. Or was he really just putting on, because we all like a good comeback? As we know, Adrian Peterson embarked on his NFL career with an insane performance. He was voted Offensive Rookie of the Year, and he amassed the most rushing yards of any player. Now, as he's playing in 2011 against the Washington Redskins, all of a sudden, he tears an ACL and MCL, and yet he is back on the field in about a year's time and performing amazing. How did that happen? It usually takes a player about a year to recover from just an ACL injury. Yet after 2 weeks of the reconstructive knee surgery, Adrian Peterson was walking up steps. And within 11 months, he was back on the field, taking the NFL by storm for one of the best seasons of his life. Now, Adrian Peterson, when he was in his college career playing for Oklahoma, he did suffer a few very serious injuries to his collarbone, to his ankle, and his shoulder. Yet once again, came on right back and came on even stronger. Then we have to ask ourselves, is Adrian Peterson the man who just carried 3 Cowboys into the end zone this Sunday? Is he a cyborg? Or is Purple Jesus really the second coming? Number 2, TEBOW Gate. Now the New England Patriots, were they sincerely interested in Tim Tebow, or were they just looking for a little bit of godly press? In June 2013, the New England Patriots signed Tim Tebow to a 2-year, not guaranteed contract, only to release him 3 months later. Now, Tim Tebow has a reputation for godliness just about everywhere but on the field. Sure, he led the Denver Broncos to a wonderful winning streak back in 2011, but that was until Week 15 when the New England Patriots sacked him 4 times and also led to a fumble. At the end of the season, Tim Tebow had the lowest completion rate of any quarterback. So you tell me, did the New England Patriots really want Tim Tebow? Or were they just looking for a little bit of godly press, which would have been very helpful, especially in the wake of the Hernandez debacle? And number 3, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, does this team really suck this bad? Are they shooting for the number 1 NFL pick in 2014? Or do they really just want to move to California? You tell me. The Jacksonville Jaguars have led the season in losses for the last few seasons, and in this season, they're 0-8. They even had to give out free beer to get their own fans to attend. This is the NFL. You tell me, should they be able to play? Or should we maybe, bring in Alabama? Well, I guess we're going to have to think of it this way. They're either trying to get the number 1 pick in 2014 to stay humble, because they probably do suck that bad, or hey, maybe they just want to come out and see a little bit of Angelina and Brad in Hollywood. Those are Lady Justice's conspiracies. Are they for real, or are they just fantasy?
All right, thanks, AJ. Those are some pretty interesting conspiracies from the NFL, all around the NFL. Do you believe any of them?
I'm just glad to have another lady on the show.
Exactly.
We haven't had another lady in a while, so I'm glad that she could do her little segment. Definitely
football for thought. So, watch for us on BigBallsFantasyFootball.com. That's where you will find our big hub, take you to everywhere, our YouTube site, our Facebook page, our Twitter. Where else do they want to go?
Well, if you want to go straight to Twitter and tweet us, we are at BigBallsFBall. You can like us on Facebook, facebook.com/BigBallsFantasyFootball. Tell your friends, get everybody to join in. We really want to hear from everyone. That's a big deal to us. And if you have videos, whatever you have, send us some stuff and we'll use it.
we will definitely use it. And we are coming to you live on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BigBallsFootball. So, next week, we are going to be coming to you from not coming to you from there, but we're going to have footage from San Diego. Prost is doing his salute to the troops from the Santee, California VFW. Lexi might actually show up.
Ah.
She's going to be there, if she is, to represent the Broncos because they're taking on San Diego. Peyton Manning, minus John Fox, coming into San Diego, and they've been up and down and up and down, so who knows where this game is going to go.
It should be a fun divisional game. I mean, maybe high scoring.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You have Jack Del Rio, formerly of the Jaguars, coaching. I think they just should let
Peyton Manning. Let's be honest.
Jack Del Rio will call in a play, and Peyton Manning will do his flap, flap, flap.
This
Let's
is what
go.
we're doing.
He always flaps his arms. I love the flapping of the arms. All right. Speaking of which, we're going to fly off now, and we'll have your Week 11 stuff next week. Thanks for watching.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.